This show has been around for some 15 years in one form or another. And we pride ourselves on focusing on the things that matter with morality and with faith, not with politics. Because the truth is, there is nothing more potent than a person's faith. The core belief system is what determines everything else in your life. Who you marry, where you buy your home, your political views, everything comes from that core belief. If you're an atheist, that drives you. If you are a religionist, that drives you. A person of faith, that drives you. Everything will come out of that. But this is not just about politics. And the politics I could care less about, because the individual, the heart in the individual is what makes a difference. What is in the heart and the head of that person is what will determine what they do with their hands. Not the other way around. The next day, the Daily News, the New York Daily News, published a cover, their front page. It says 14 dead in California mass shooting. In big, bold, white letters on a black background, the headline read, "God isn't fixing this." The text below the title says, as latest batch of innocent Americans are left lying in pools of blood, cowards who could truly end gun scourge continue to hide behind meaningless platitudes. Now, interestingly enough, the focus here is mostly along the side of conservatives. But really, it's all politicians, because every single politician has used those words. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who have lost their lives or were affected by this tragedy, right? You hear everyone say that. So there's a series of tweets that are quoted on that front page dealing with our thoughts and prayers. So the implication here is that God isn't fixing this. And every politician and everyone, so all the prayers and all the focus on God isn't doing anything. Here's the issue. If you are focused on the weapon of choice of somebody who wants to harm anyone, your focus is misplaced. You are part of the problem. The whole point of Scripture, the entirety of everything we've talked about in the program, has always focused on one thing: that if you change the heart of man, everything else will follow. There is a war on faith. And it's not the Muslim faith. It's not Islam. It is a war on anyone who will believe. And just like the person who walks around with a deadly illness that keeps trying to mask the symptoms with Band-Aids and medication and outright denial, the world is in a state of great grief and great spiritual sickness. No law against any weapon or any religion will save it. The concern lies in that you would rather focus on the weapon of choice than what's really happening, which is there is a rejection of the concept of true faith and the ideals of morality to such a point that people can no longer see the difference between a proper faith and zealots. You hear talk of, concentration camps. And if your skin doesn't crawl at the very notion, then you need to check yourself immediately. because it's easier to put Muslims in the United States in a concentration camp than it is to understand the difference between a zealot, a radicalized Muslim, versus a Muslim. If you want to take every gun away from every human being and assume that the problem will go away, you have set yourself apart from the logic that states that if you are in the room with a gun unmanned in a corner, it will not harm you. But if you are in a room with an unmanned terrorist, a zealot who wishes you dead, they will find a way to make you dead. Stop looking at the symptoms. Stop focusing on all the parts and tiny bit players and look at the fact that it is a problem, a deficit in the heart that is causing this problem. And every time you mock faith, and every time you do not instill the very thing that you say you believe in your life and your family in a way that brings both peace and understanding and that builds community, you are a part of this. You, in fact, have picked up that weapon and pointed it at people you care about. Because you have a wishy-washy faith. It is easy to die for your faith. And cowards do it daily. But in the scripture of Christianity, it says to be a living sacrifice. You want something difficult. You live for your faith. It says in scripture, you will be mocked for your belief. People will roll their eyes at you. This attack that took place on December 2nd, the question marks abound, people throwing ideas and thoughts and accusations and what ifs at the wall, seeing what will stick. Is it workplace violence? Is it extremism? And everybody's asking questions. There's evidence that maybe these two individuals were mocked for their faith. There's also evidence that there was great planning that took place. You will be mocked for your faith as well. Does that mean you pick up a gun? Does that mean you make pipe bombs? Because I assure you, if you took away any weapon, anything, and you go down the line, and that makes you feel better, then you're a fool. Because the person who is focused on taking your life, on eradicating you, doesn't care how they do it, and if they have to do it one by one. You think that you might feel better at night. You might feel that you have a better chance than if they came at you with a rock. But I assure you, if 10 people came at you from behind with a rock, they could take out 10 people. It's about intent. It's about focus. It's about will. And sadly, as it's been said many times about cults or different belief systems and people that are dedicated day in and day out to knock on doors, to ring doorbells, to stand in front of people and share their faith, as misguided as their faith may be, as counterfeit as it may be, that it's been said over and over and over how sad it is what people are willing to do for a lie that believers aren't willing to do for the truth. And if you can't stand tall in your belief, if it's just a necklace, a silly little plastic fish on the back of your car, if it's a bumper sticker, church on Sunday, if it's just these things, stop it. That's a club. You're not changing hearts. You're not changing minds. You're trying to change laws. You're focused. The enemy has you focused on the silly things. The enemy has you chasing shadows. and causes and politics to make you feel better. You feel like you're doing something. But I assure you, your faith is without any substance. It is merely your opportunity this time of year to decorate. There has to be more to your faith. It's not about forcing somebody into your belief system. It's not about making your club bigger. It's about changing the hearts of people. You can't take away things and expect people change laws and expect them to obey them. Obeying laws deals with the individual, the core belief system, the character of the person to willingly obey the laws. There is not a cop on every corner. There is not law enforcement, nor is the judicial system big enough to deal with the populace if it decides not to obey those laws. So the only thing that make those laws valuable at all is the heart of the individual being willing to obey them. You may have recently just heard about a woman in Florida who did 2 hit and runs in one day. 2. How do you know about that? Did she turn herself in? Did she stop? No. Because the GPS and the crash recognition on her vehicle called 911 and said there's been an accident. Because not only was there damage to her car, but her airbag deployed. The machine knew it was wrong to leave the scene. The machine knew better. But you can't program people. You have to change their heart. And when their heart changes, they know when they hit somebody in an accident, they don't drive away. That they don't use guns to plow down people that believe differently. But you wouldn't use your car to do the same thing. You wouldn't use your fist to do the same thing. You wouldn't use a rock, a stick, or a pipe bomb to do the same thing. Because your heart and your mind will tell you that's not a good idea. That is morally wrong. And until you get it through your head that it is about the morality of individuals and the populace as a whole, and stop picking at the scab and hoping that you can take enough away of the bad pointy sticks so that people won't hurt each other, until you understand the heart is the heart of the problem, then you will continue to be a part of the issue and not the solution. It's very easy to hear my words and think that there's a political bent. And I want to make it very clear, there is not. It's not about gun control, nor do we talk about abortion laws or gay marriage as laws. We talk about all these things as moral issues, not as the politics and not as laws per se. So don't rah-rah just simply because you think that it's on your side. It is only and always will only be about the morality of mankind. And until that is fine-tuned by you, not by the forceful hand of God, will there be balance? And will there be, there will never be true peace the way you might paint on a bumper sticker. But there'll be peace within and people working together towards a common goal of edifying and protecting one another and loving on one another. But that the laws only work for those that are morally willing to obey them.